Welcome back to 70 Years and Beyond. I'm Wambui, and this is the second episode in our High Tech Woes series, where we're exploring the ways that modern technology sometimes complicates what used to be simple. In our last episode, I talked about how technology allows us to connect instantly with someone on the other side of the world. Yet, many people today feel more disconnected than ever before. We're missing a human connection. Today, we're tackling something that I understand first appeared during the pandemic, but seems like it's here to stay. I'm talking about QR code menus at restaurants. Those little black and white squares that have replaced good old-fashioned paper menus. Now, I don't eat out very often at all, but when I do, I expect certain pleasures like good food, pleasant company, and a menu that I can hold in my hand and read without having to pull out my phone. In the last episode, I talked about going to restaurants with family and friends and keeping your screens out of the way so that you can connect on a more meaningful level with each other. And now, in many instances, you can't even order without taking your phone out. My first introduction to a QR code was not related to a menu or a restaurant. It was near the end of the pandemic and the kids were allowed to go back to school, and my granddaughter was in preschool, and on certain days her parents would have me pick her up from school. Now, the first time I went to pick her up from school, I was standing outside with the other parents because parents were not allowed into school. The way it worked is the teachers would bring the child out to the parent who was waiting. But after a while, I started wondering, well, how do they know who's out here? And so I asked one of the parents, I said, well, how do the teachers know that we're here? And she said, very nice and politely, she said, once you scan the code and fill out the form, they'll bring your child out. And I said, okay. Now, I had no idea what she meant by scan the code, but I did see the board she meant, and it did have that little black and white, what I now know is a QR code. And I stood around for a while and I watched the other parents and kind of followed what they did. And I saw them go over to the board and they take out their phone and put it on camera. And I thought they were going to take a picture, but they didn't take a picture. They just kind of held it up to the square, and then in yellow a little thing would appear, and they pressed that to get to the page they needed to get to. And so I did exactly what they were doing. And then when I got to the page, I had to find my granddaughter's name and then what class she was in, and it asked for some more information and who I was in relation to her. And then they brought my granddaughter out. My first QR code menu experience came one morning when I was strolling through my neighborhood up in Harlem, and I spotted a newly opened cafe that looked so quaint and so sweet and so cute. And I was thinking, wow, this is great to have this in the neighborhood. It was only a few blocks from where I live. And I'm thinking, this is wonderful for when you want to meet people in the neighborhood, or you have someone over and you decide you want to go out somewhere just to get a quick bite. I said, this looks charming. And I said, I wonder what the menu looks like. So I went inside and I asked the lady at the counter, I said, can I see a menu, please? And she said, the code is over there. And I thought she misunderstood me because I didn't know what she was talking about. So I said, oh, I just want to see a menu. And she said, yeah, the code is over there. Scan the code. And we were in two different worlds. I realized we were in two different worlds. And she was thinking I was not so smart, and I was thinking she was not so smart. And I'm thinking, what? I just want to see a menu. And so I said to her, I said, well, do you have a paper menu? And she said, we may be getting some, but we don't have any now. And so I just left. I left thinking, wow, why is this so hard? Why can't I just see a paper menu? All right, so ordering food in general has become more difficult with high tech. I had run a lot of errands in New York on this particular day, and I was tired. I had started early in the morning. It was now about 3 in the afternoon, and I hadn't eaten all day. And I was thinking, okay, you need to just at least get something to eat before you get back on the train to go uptown. And so I was in the 50s on 8th Avenue, in the low 50s on 8th Avenue, and I looked up and I saw this place that was selling rice dishes with different fish, different meats and vegetables. And so I thought, let me go in here and get something to eat. I went in there, and when I walked in, there was this beautiful picture of a bowl with these amazing vegetables. I know pictures are always a little different, but it was a beautiful picture of a bowl of brown rice with some vegetables and some fish in there. And I just walked in and I said to the person behind the counter, I want that. Just give me one of those. And then he said, okay. And he gave me what looked like a half sheet of paper with some check boxes and things on it. And he says, go over by the kiosk over there and make your order. And I said, okay. And so I took the paper and I saw it had the check boxes for checking and descriptions of different things. And I didn't know how that related. I didn't know how that related to also having this computer thing. So I had the paper and I had the computer thing, and I didn't know. I didn't know. So after a few minutes of looking at the paper, looking at the computer, trying to figure, I just left. You know, like, I really believe that ordering food should not be that hard, that everybody should know how to do it. It shouldn't be like a secret. Few weeks later, I'm walking by that same place with my oldest daughter, and I'm telling her about the experience I had in there that day. And she said, come on, and we can do this. Come on, we're going to do this. And so we came in, and a guy gave her that form and pointed over. He said, go make your order. And we were both, now there are two of us staring at the paper, at the computer. What do you do? How does, I can see using one or the other, but how do these go together? So my daughter went over and she was asking the guy, how does this exactly work? We've never done this before, so let us know what to do. When one of the customers chimed in and she showed us, my daughter, what to do. And I was just not even interested, because I'm thinking, if it's this hard to order, we're not a good match. We're not a good match. I don't need to be in here. If somebody has to explain to you how to order the food, then I shouldn't be ordering it. Another time, this was more recently. Now, I guess I should feel a little bit embarrassed that I don't know how to do these things, but I feel like, how are you supposed to know how to do these things? I took my daughters to Shake Shack to get milkshakes. And so I went to the little computer type thing, and I ordered 2 vanilla milkshakes. Okay, 2 vanilla milkshakes. Okay, so now I get out my card and I want to pay. But it seems like I'm stuck in a loop. I don't know how to finalize this order. I can't figure how to finalize it. Now, when I have a problem on my computer, I take my time, and eventually I figure it out. I am here on this platform talking to you because I figured out how to work my camera, how to work my mic, and I figured how to upload stuff. I can figure it out, but I need a little time. So the line was getting longer and longer behind me, and I was not seeing how to get out of this loop with my 2 milkshakes. So finally, I just turned to the woman behind me and I said, can you show me how to check out? I just want the 2 milkshakes. And she was more than happy to. And she went, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what she did, but she did it. She said, now take your card and tap it there. I said, okay. And so we did, and we got our milkshakes. But I'm thinking, should it be that difficult just to make an order in a restaurant to get some food? Recently, I was on a family vacation with my family down in North Carolina. It was my oldest daughter, her husband, and the 2 grandkids and me were in the car. And we decided we were going to go pick up something at one of those popular fast food places. And so we drove up to the takeout window through the drive-thru, and my daughter was about to order. And before my daughter could say anything, the woman at the drive-thru said, "We're only taking DoorDash now." And my daughter said, "Well, what does that mean?" And the woman said, "We're only taking DoorDash orders, so you can pull around to the parking lot, you can park, use your app and order the DoorDash, and we'll let you know when it's ready." So that's what we did. We drove around. There were a few other cars in the parking lot, and everybody had their phone out and was ordering DoorDash. But we were already at a restaurant. We were at the place. We were there. We were at a place that said they sell food. We were there. We went through their drive-thru, but then they told us we need to go to the parking lot and order it through DoorDash in order to get their food. And so that's what we did. However, for Mother's Day this year, my family took me to a wonderful little restaurant in the middle of New York City, and there were paper menus, customer service, a waitstaff who talked to you, asked you what you preferred, and told you what the specials were. It was amazing, just like the good old days. I'm not alone in my preference for a traditional menu. Apparently, according to online surveys, 90% of diners over 55 would take a paper menu over these digital ones any day. While I can navigate technology well enough, I worry about those who can't or who don't carry. Yes, some of us don't even have smartphones. I believe these QR codes create a barrier for many people, especially the seniors, those with vision impairments, or folks who simply aren't comfortable with technology. Restaurants might be saving money on printing, but at what cost to the dining experience for a significant portion of their customers? And what about those wonderful moments of connection when a waiter explains a special dish or makes recommendations? That interaction becomes more limited when everything is just on a screen. This QR code trend is part of a larger pattern. I've noticed businesses adopting technology that works great for most people but leaves others behind. The last time I went to my doctor, even though I had given the information online, when I got there, I had to fill out the same information on this iPad type thing. But the iPad thing was on a stand, so to fill it out, I had to stand up. I suppose they had other devices for people who couldn't stand, or if I had requested to give me something that I could fill out sitting down, they would have accommodated me, but it seemed unfriendly to bring me to your office and make me go in a corner and stand up to fill a form. I understand why restaurants like these digital menus. They're easy to update. You save on printing costs. And during the pandemic, they certainly seemed safer. But good service means serving all of your customers, not just the tech-savvy ones. I've noticed that many of the high-end restaurants often still use beautifully printed menus as part of the dining experience, while more casual places have gone digital. It makes me wonder, is it really progress with these digital menus and everything being digital? Is it really progress if it makes dining out more stressful or less enjoyable for some of us? And what about the simple pleasure of perusing a menu without having to stare at another screen? After all, restaurants are in the hospitality business. And hospitality means making all guests feel welcome. What's your preference? Do you like scanning a QR code or holding a physical menu? Has a restaurant ever made you feel accommodated when you ask for a paper menu? At the end of the day, This isn't just about menus. It's about remembering that convenience for some doesn't mean convenience for all. As we embrace new technologies, let's not leave behind the simple tools that worked well for generations. And if you are a restaurant owner watching this, please keep a few paper menus around for old folks like me. We appreciate it more than you know. Join me next week and we'll tackle another modern challenge: self-checkout, and what happens when the machine keeps telling you there's an unexpected item in the bagging area. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Share your thoughts about QR codes in the comments below. This is Wambui from 70 Years and Beyond, reminding you every day, no matter how high-tech or hectic, is a gift. See you next week.